E360 TV proudly presents messages of inspirational stories. Live streaming now to millions of devices, including Roku, Apple TV, Amazon Fire TV, Android TV, YouTube Live, Facebook Live, with your host, Donna Guinwa, producer and host, Jim Grant, producer and host, along with Michaela Vidal, administrator and host, and Gaia Guinwa Balconi Wada, editor-in-chief. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the show. Sometimes you just have these things that pop up about 35 seconds before we were going to go live. I mean, just 35 seconds ago, my internet went down and I had to switch, and hopefully it will stay back up. So imagine that you're getting ready to go on live TV, this live broadcast, and your screen just goes blank. Not the screen, but I mean, the camera, the studio went blank. And I thought, that's not good. But we're so glad that you've joined in today. We're going to have a great show. We've got some technical difficulties, I know. And I know that Emerson's trying to get in. And I know that Monique MamaMo Klosowski is trying to get in. And so we're just going to go right on with the show, because that's what you do with the live broadcast. But first of all, again, let me say here on Wednesdays, this is all about youth making a difference. And in this program on Wednesdays, in our new fall schedule, what we're covering is stories about young entrepreneurs, people who created a product, young people who created a product, or they saw a cause, or they saw the need to create a nonprofit. Also, and this is where Monique fits in real good today, the fact of it is that young people, kids and teenagers, they need mentors. In fact, we have several organizations that's wanting to work with us on that. The Boy Scouts of America, Big Brothers, Big Sisters, even the Rotary Club. So we've got a lot of people who are interested in that. We want to get some of the young people they know that's, really made a difference in other people's lives, in their little world, because it's so important for us to be able to develop our youth, because right now our youth is very, very anemic for good, positive type of leadership, because these are the future leaders of tomorrow, and we need to invest in them. And I really like the Big Brothers and Big Sisters organization, their attitude about how you invest in a child. And they said it right. Now on Mondays, we've got a couple of people that's going to be with us over the next couple of Mondays. It's all about making a difference in business. This is aimed right at the entrepreneurs. This is going to be information in regards to them being able to share information about the world of entrepreneurship. And I see Emerson still trying to connect his device. I'm not laughing at him. I'm laughing with him, because I know how he feels, and I know exactly how I felt when it happened to me. But, entrepreneurs, it's very, very important, because being a home-based business, who do you turn to? How do you build a relationship with key people who can help you, go and grow? That's the bottom line, because you're not doing it for the experience. And then on Tuesdays, we've got some great people lined up that's very excited about, and the topic is finding health naturally. These folks come from the world of natural cures. They come from the world of, having knowledge on natural And I don't know if I don't know if I went blank or not. All of a sudden, my picture here on the screen just went black, so I don't know. But anyway, let me see if I can get Emerson in here. Hey, Emerson, how you doing?
Hey, Jim.
Right before I went live, I went totally black on the camera screen, and
You just went black again. I'm not sure what happened, but it looks like we just lost Jim instead of me. So I presume that Jim is going to join us again. And I know that he has an awful lot of great information that he's going to be sharing about our guest, who's known as MamaMo. I am watching the clock count down. One of the things that we're going to be talking about today is youth and leadership and inspiring young people to be leaders. And they can be leaders in their classrooms. They can be leaders with their friends. There he is.
I just
kept talking, Jim. I just kept on talking.
Folks, you can't script this. So when things, when you go down the road and everything is smooth, you're fine. You go into the curve and a wheel comes off. that happens. So don't let it rattle your birdcage. And
it always happens right after the 12,000-mile warranty kicks out.
Kicks out. Yeah, right. As soon as your warranty's out, And of course, I was talking about the different programs we have. Thursday is Pets We Love. Oh my goodness, we're looking for it. In fact, Monique was on last week on Pets We Love. Her and her husband, Matt, they raised the red pit bull terriers. And Emerson, I think you saw where her dog was in a movie with, was it Brad Pitt? What's the guy's name? Quentin
well, it would make sense if it was Brad Pitt since they were pit bulls.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, you're sharp today, brother. You are definitely sharp today. And she's going to be with us as soon as she can get in. So we're all having trouble here. I guess we didn't put enough quarters in this thing. Fridays is Women in Leadership. And oh my goodness, we had Deb Lewis on last week, I think it was. She's a great friend of ours. She's a former state commander for the VFW for the state of Hawaii, and tremendous lady. And she sent us her schedule, and I don't know when she eats or when she sleeps. You know what I mean, Emerson?
She was busy. She went to the national convention for the VFW and turned right around and went to the American Legion convention. And she had a whole bunch of other meetings that she did in between there, including with some work that she does with young people.
So, yes. Yeah. Plus the fact she fit into her busy schedule going down to Florida, this is before the hurricane, and visiting with her mom and dad. So she is one busy young lady. And the reason we mention all these different programs to you, ladies and gentlemen, is that you may be a good fit for one of our programs. If you are, please email us here at the TV station, inspiration@e360tv.com. Our staff will get it, and we will be more than happy to talk with you, share information with you, and find out, which show you'd be a good fit for and all that, because we're all about providing really the TV show's a vehicle for the average person just like us to have a voice. Would you say that's about accurate, Emerson?
Yeah, and the shows, the themes that we've picked out are themes that have had the greatest response up till now among viewers.
Oh yeah.
So, continuing that trend, if there's a viewer, I think it would be spectacular to have a viewer on the in health and wellness, or have a viewer wants to add their viewpoint with dogs and pets, or has some ideas on leadership.
Perhaps
you're a leader in your community. Those are all things that matter. Or any of the different themes are designed not just to be talking heads, but to make it something that's yours.
Absolutely, because When it comes to being a mentor, I've got to roll back a little bit into my life. When I was a kid in school, I was a member of the Cub Scouts. And the thing that really impressed me about them, they treated me just like I was family. There was, obviously mature leadership there, guidance, and they take us out camping and fishing. It was a wonderful experience for me. And I wish I'd have been able to stay into the Scouts, but we sold the farm and we moved, and I just never, I didn't find a new pack for some reason. I don't know why, but I really enjoyed that. And I remember also, Emerson, you're probably part of this, knowing your background. I remember going to the camps that the churches would put on, and oh my goodness gracious, if you got kids out there and you'd like them to get into how can I say this? A nicer environment is an accurate way of putting it, to mix and mingle with other kids that are maybe not as, how can I say this without getting in trouble?
Probably going to get in trouble, Jim.
As my dad used to say, your only problem is you run around knuckleheads.
I thought you were going to use that saying of his of just exactly when did you think that was a good idea?
Yep. I've heard that one too. Yeah, that's a good one of his. Yeah, that's a classic. But I remember I complained. I did not want to go. But when I got there and all the other kids, there was a few kids like me, what are we doing here? But by the second day, hey, this is fun. It was a wonderful experience for me. And I went to several, after that, they didn't have to talk me into going. I was ready to go. And Emerson, I know that in your work, in your lifetime, you probably went on some of those, and you definitely you participate. Share a little bit about that, if you would.
Yeah, I was real involved in the Methodist Church. They have the UMYF, the Methodist Youth Fellowship, and I was the I don't know what they called it. I don't think they called it president one year, but anyway, one of the things that we did was we joined with several other groups and created a day camp for underprivileged kids. And I was the treasurer one year, and I was the president another year. And the year I was president, we had 450 kids.
Wow.
At-risk kids who had never been outside the city, and we took them camping. And that was a real treat. We went to this lakefront that I guess the Methodist Church owned for all of the different groups to be able to take advantage of. But we took them out, and they got to camp and sleep outside and go swimming, and it was a real treat. And we taught them. We did archery with them. We did all sorts of things with them. So that was a treat. It was a treat both being in the youth groups and even up into high school with our youth group. I was part of a music workshop that was a week long. That was it was exciting. It was fun. It was everything you said, Jim. It was fun. Now, it wasn't just boys.
Yeah, I'm on the phone, Moni.
And that part was also fun. So that was I made several friends that I stayed in communication with all the way through college, and wrote to them, and they wrote to me, and we talked on the phone. So any of those kinds of activities are things that make a difference, and it may be a church or temple group. When I was really little, down in your Cub Scout kind of age range, I wasn't a member of the Cub Scouts. I was a member of Indian Guides. And Indian Guides was another group.
And I've never heard of them.
Yeah,
I hate to say it, I've never heard of it. Share a little bit about Indian Guides, please.
Well, Indian Guides was another group, and it was a group that interesting aspect to it. you had a parent that was involved with you in the group. And so my dad was involved with me, and he and I got to go to the meetings together and had a little, he was, let's see, he was Big Bow and I was Little Arrow, I think was the name that we were given. And, so he and I got to spend great time together. And I believe, if I remember, where I was at the Indian Guides was through the Y in the town that we were in at the time. But we did a lot of different things.
Yeah.
I still have some of the crafts that we made.
Wow.
And I well remember one time we had somebody with a private plane, might have been one of the other parents, I don't know. And he took us up for 3 of us at a time.
Wow.
Right? So I got to sit in the co-pilot seat. And so he said, well, once we take off, if you want to, you can try your hand at it. So sure enough, we got about 50 or 60 feet off the ground. I went, oh yeah, what you do when you're 6, 7, 8 years old? Whoa, like this, and the plane just about hit the ground.
Yeah,
So,
he forgot to tell you when, huh?
Or how far, or how little. We had a good time.
Oh yeah, and after my very positive experience with the Cub Scouts, and me and my friend, next door neighbor, Bob Green, Bob and I, we were about 13, I guess, something like that. We became members of the Civil Air Patrol.
Oh, I was in the CAP.
Oh, okay.
I didn't know that. How about that?
Yeah. That's amazing, isn't it? And I don't know what it is, but you put a little kid like in a Cub Scout uniform or a young teenager we had the Civil Air Patrol uniform, the khakis, and we walked down, we'd walk downtown, and we were hot stuff,
Yeah.
But here again, we got to fly in the airplane and stuff and do different things. And it was a wonderful experience. I mean, the first time I've ever been in an airplane, a little 2-seater, and it only had to go about 35 miles an hour to lift off the runway.
Was it an open cockpit?
Yeah, what we had there,
I got to fly in an open cockpit as well.
It was not the open cockpit. Excuse me. It was closed, but it had a little window, little window here on the side. You opened it up, and it actually hung with the latch on the wing. And I'm sitting back there, and he takes off. And I'm going to be honest with you, folks. I've never been in an airplane before in my life. I'm only about 13, and he takes off, and I'm scooting down this thing because I'm a little bitty kid. Okay, in the 4th grade, I was 4 foot nothing. I think I weighed 49 pounds, and I'm accurate on the 49 pounds. I was very small as a kid, and that thing went up in the air, and I got kind of scared, and I scooted down. And the problem was that stick was coming back, and I had to scoot back up. But
before you bring her in, I just want to encourage everybody.
Uh-huh.
No matter what age your kids are, if you're able to take off time and be with them on just a field trip with their school, it's an experience that will stay with them forever. I was fortunate to often be the only dad who was able to be with my 3 daughters as they went through school on field trips. Yeah. And they still remember it. They still remember it.
Yeah.
And the sharing the experience and the lessons that they can learn with you, priceless.
Oh,
priceless.
yeah. Oh, yeah.
Well, we have a guest in the waiting area in the green room.
I got to tell one story before I bring her on board.
Okay.
I know she'll get a kick out of this. When you do, as an adult, go out and you're going to be a positive influence, be a positive influence.
Oh, yeah.
Me and a friend of mine, we're both in the Signal Corps, in the Army. And he had a bunch of junk around his house. And I saw this TA-312. That's the old crank fill phone. And so we're going out, help these kids with fishing and all that. So this is how smart I am. I could still be peeling potatoes up the penitentiary for supper time over this shenanigan. But I told him, hey, I'm going to show him how to catch some fish. So I put the 2 wires in the water and cranked that ball. Oh, my goodness. And the guy came over there and he got all mad. What are you doing? Get out of here with the thing. My stay there was very, very short for some
I
reason.
think there was something like that in the film. I think the film was Brubaker. There was a scene about like that. Only it wasn't fish. Let's not be rude with our guests, though.
Yes, we got to bring this young lady on.
Let's bring her in.
Yeah, there you go. How are you doing today? Your mic is muted. You got to put a quarter in that thing. No, I see your mute sign there. There you go.
There you are.
There we go. There you go.
Hello, everybody. How are you today?
Hello.
Yeah. Do you know Emerson? I don't think you met Emerson.
Not. I have not had the privilege of meeting Emerson. How are you, Emerson? How are you doing today?
I'm doing excellent, but I'm sure I'll get better.
Yeah.
It can only get better from here.
Yeah,
that's right.
Emerson works with us here. He's our director of marketing, and he's just an all around, just a blue chip kind of a guy. We've known each other for many years, several years, and we're just honored to have him here. And today, if you notice on your Facebook, I listened to what your Mo Moments, and I put in there for Donna and Emerson, and I made a comment in there. We are so honored to have this young lady on the show.
Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate that. I'm stepping out of my comfort zone and sharing my story and my life lessons and trying to inspire others to step out of their comfort zone as well. Today I know that you're talking about youth making a difference, and that's very important to me, because I grew up in trauma. And I am a product of the foster care system. I happen to be, very blessed. And the impact that we can make in children's lives if we open up our eyes and are willing to step outside of ourselves and to see the reality of what's really goes on behind closed doors. Because I think there's a lot of youth that fall through the cracks, youth that have lived in trauma, that grow up in trauma, and then get labeled and bullied because of things that are out of their control. And there's a lot. I know I slipped through the cracks. I was quiet. I was rebellious. Don't get it wrong. I was rebellious because I didn't know any better than to be rebellious. And I think that, and then you get that label. And so, to me, making a difference in the youth, my ultimate goal is to be at a point in my life where I can create a transitional living program for kids that age out of the foster care system. Because, you turn an age and it's a magic number, and all of a sudden you no longer have access to the things that you had access to before that brought you safety and comfort, being wards of the state. And we're just kind of thrown out into this world onto our own with no direction. And I made a lot of bad mistakes. I made a lot of bad mistakes because I didn't have that direction in my life. And so I want to come alongside those and, those kids that get lost in that system. There's I think it's like 90-something% of kids that end up in the system, end up on drugs, end up suicidal, end up these statistics. And a lot of times it's due to no fault of their own. They just don't know how to manage life. They don't know how to manage their emotions. They don't know how to do life. It's frustrating. And, when you grow up and you don't have, that foundation to help you, grow into be the best version of yourself. When you come from trauma becomes your comfort zone. So we continue to be as crazy as that sounds to some people, they can't understand why, people do the things that they do, but it's all that they know. Love and affection is foreign to somebody who's never had love or affection, or they get love and affection and there's something that's tied to it. And we wonder why we repeat these trauma patterns in our lives. Why, I married abusive, addictive men. Why? Because they were an image of a father that I grew up with, and I could deal with that. That was what was comfortable to me because I didn't know my worth, because I didn't know that there was something better out there for me. And so, today, I'm sorry, I'm rambling on, but it's something I'm super passionate about. Is there's so many kids that get lost in the cracks and get labeled and misunderstood because they're thrown into a situation due to no fault of their own. They become drug addicts. They become prostitutes. They end up in, in the adult industry. There's things that happen because that's all that they know. They don't know their self-worth. And it's so important to me, because if you can reach kids, if you can reach the youth at that age and make a difference, and they can sidestep and realize that there is love, that there is a reason and a purpose for them in this life. They're here for a reason, that they can grow, that they can get past these things, then there's hope. There's hope. If there was hope for me, there's hope for anybody.
You make a great point. You make a great point. We two things that are absolutes. We only know what we know, and we don't know what we don't know.
Absolutely.
And so, if
don't remind me of my school days.
and not to make the connection here, but there's the way that we handle people, including kids who come out who end up getting into trouble, that the way that we handle people in incarceration is the same way. We expect them to walk out of the gate. Okay, you did your time. Here's your $20 or whatever they get, and now go and do all the things that you have absolutely no experience and have never had to do. And just
and that's why they
you figure it out. You figure it out.
It's like
that's not. I'm a big believer in personal responsibility, but the reality is, again, you don't know what you don't know, and you only know what you do know.
Right.
And when we are expecting somebody to make decisions they're complex life decisions, and they've never had a guide, they've never had a mentor, they've never had anybody that's given them any sense of direction, we're really putting an awful lot more on somebody. And we have to remember, in the foster care system, they're there not because of anything that they've done wrong.
Right.
They're there because of the adults in their life who did not keep responsibility and honor and all the other things, and be the parent. For whatever reason.
And
now we're expecting them to do something, and they don't have a framework for it.
Go ahead.
And then those kids too. There's a lot of foster parents, not all. I happen to be blessed. My foster parents that I had later on in my teenage years absolutely changed my life. They showed me love and affection when I didn't know love and affection. And I was like, these people are crazy. And they're still a huge part of my life to this day. And I want to start a nonprofit, and I want to name it after my foster parents, because if it wasn't for them, and that's why it's so important, if you can reach somebody at that moment in their life when they don't trust, when they don't believe that they have any worth, that they don't know, nobody cares about them, there's something to be said. And it kind of rips at my heart too, when you're ripped from your home and you carry around everything that in a garbage bag, because that's what you do. You pack up all your clothes, you do everything. And it's not like you get a suitcase and you show up and whatever, and you end up in somebody's random home and you don't know. I've heard stories. I've been through stories, and my sister, I've heard horror stories of things that happen in the foster care system because kids get lost in the cracks, the sexual abuse, the traumas that these kids go through. So not only do they deal with it in their home, and then they're supposed to go into a safe home, and it's not safe. And so they learn to put these walls up, and they don't, and these are the things that we never talk about. One of the reasons why, I thought that I could make a difference being part of the foster or social services. And you realize that there's so many holes in the cracks, and we give so many opportunities to people who don't deserve more opportunities. And the ones who suffer are the kids, are the youth. They're the ones who suffer.
Yeah. Because they feel like, I've been lied to again. They make it up to some cotton candy story. I'm going to be in a safe home. You call this safe? That's a living hell for them. And I like the Big Brothers and Big Sisters organization in America. They talk about how you should invest in a child. And that is so important. And like, if you notice that Monique mentioned the thing that really turned her life around was the love that she received from the foster parents. And see, love, ladies and gentlemen, that is the anchor of our life that keeps us on course, keeps us, secure in our morals, our values, and our beliefs when the winds of adversity blow. And they do blow. No one's got a windshield or anything like that to block out the wind. It's going to come. So just take a deep breath and relax. And kids have got to know that when things happen, they've got to be able to have that strong anchor where they don't fall apart. They got to have a secure, system, family system, people that they can go to in their hour of need, that they can talk to. That's so critical, because so many kids now, I remember as a teenager, I really couldn't talk to my parents that much, I could talk to mom in a certain way because mom's mom, I could get away with anything with mom, but dad, good luck with that. Because he could read me like an open book. I mean, he one look at my face, he knew what I was thinking. So I was done before I even got started.
I was going to say, it is that way a lot of times, and especially in older generations. I think like I'm one of those last generations that, I'm in my 40s. So I was like the last generation that really grew up in a society where like man was the head of the household, and, women, you know what I mean? Like we didn't have the computers, and, we still had cords on our phones, and you know what I mean? Like it's a different way of life now. Everything we find our comfort in digital, we find inspiration on what we can scroll through on our social media, and that social interaction. I think that we are really, I think one of the disadvantages that the youth have today is they don't know how to communicate, and they don't know how to have intimate conversations and intimate interactions with each other. And they take things so personal. Everything's about me, 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 me. And they don't allow themselves to be vulnerable or to be loved. They're trying to live up to this image of the next, social media influencer, the next, whatever it may be, but they can't relate. They can't relate. They want to relate, but they can't relate. And so this self-image of themselves, they don't know who they are or what their purpose is in life. And they try to imitate like everything else that's around them.
Oh, yeah.
Because they have access to so much more. But what they don't have access to is love, is understanding, is communication.
Oh,
We're taught, from a young age, where sit down, shut up, be seen and not heard. You know what I mean? Like whether it's school, you listen to your principal, your teachers, your parents, your whatever. But we don't teach people to communicate. We take things so personal these days. Like if somebody has a different opinion, and, these kids are losing out on that intimate interaction and learning how to communicate and how to deal with struggles and how they're really feeling and how to work through those emotions and to be able to communicate correctly without being out of anger or selfish or whatever that may look like for them. Everything is, we've learned to become hermits, and they learn to shove all that down and learn how to not express themselves. And I think it's so important that we step in and we teach these kids and lead by example on how to communicate, how to trust. I think one of the biggest issues in my life is trust. I don't trust the government because they weren't there for me. I don't trust the state because they weren't there for me. I don't trust my elders because those who, the elders in my life failed me. So I deal with it, and I feel that a lot of the youth these days feel like they can't trust. They can't trust what they see on TV. They can't trust the government. They can't trust adults. We're in this fast-paced world where adults just don't, they feel that they don't have time. They don't have time. Like you were, when I came on, you guys were talking about taking the time to spend with your kids. We lose track of that. We want to shove an iPad or an iPhone in front of our kids because we got so much work we got to do each and every single day. You know what I mean? To take that time to be supportive of your kids and the things that they do, FFA,
Yeah.
you know, 4-H, sports, instruments that they may want to be interested in. You know, we don't show interest anymore.
Oh, yeah.
We're just
You're
kind of like,
exactly right.
know anything, shut your mouth, just do what you're told, and we don't involve ourselves in our kids, and then we wonder why they're lost and they're crazy, and you know they're being rebellious, and you know all of those things, because we don't pour into them. We're not pouring into our kids and loving them the way that we need to.
And that goes right on into, you know, life, into adulthood and all that, because like Emerson, you've been in marketing just about all of your life, and you've seen you've told me some nutball stories, how the sales department's over here, the marketing's over there, and they're not related, and you know. I mean, so you know, it just keeps going, doesn't it? You know.
Yeah, it's at the end of the day, even with marketing, I identify it as relationships, building relationships, long-term relationships of mutual trust and respect.
Yeah.
And when we get that in our head, now a lot of the wackadoodle things that you see, you know, in marketing and pitches and ads and things like that go out the window, because that's not what building a relationship is about. And when you start it out that way, it's never going to be what you're trying to accomplish. So, you know, building relationships of trust and respect for each other, and learning to trust and respect each other. And something that I learned, and I'll say this, Jim, I learned this from my wife, is, you know, a lot of times when you're going through something or have some issue or some disagreement, you know, I don't feel this way, and somebody says, that doesn't make any sense. That, you know, why would you feel that way? Something that I've learned is that your feelings are your feelings, and it doesn't have anything to do with what's right or wrong or what's real or not real. It's what you're feeling, and that's real. And when we begin to respect what the other person is feeling, which unfortunately in an awful lot of the discourse in the country these days, that probably is not the case. But when we begin to respect what someone else is feeling, that's bigger than what's right or what's wrong at that moment.
Yeah.
And now we're looking at the person.
Yeah.
We're not looking at something or some act or some circumstance. We're looking at the person, and we are, and that's a very, it's, you know, caring for each other and realizing that your feelings matter. They matter to you.
And so many times when couples get into disagreements and stuff like that, they're only looking at themselves, and their real mission, especially if they get in an argument, they're trying to win their side of the argument. I mean, that's the goal, and that's a pitiful goal starting out of the gate, but that's exactly what they want to do. They want to prove themselves right. You're wrong, and I won the argument, you know, and
it's so irrelevant at the end of the day.
Oh gosh, yes,
And Jim, you know, I've shared this before. One of the things that I've learned, because I've done a lot of work in the brain science space, and figuring out how the brain processes and everything else. You know, we always talk about, you know, count to 10 or count to 3 or whatever the number is, and breathe
300.
300. But I learned a long time ago, when having that shall we say, heated discussions, which can happen for anybody, I'm the person who will say, I'm going to walk outside. And I'll step, and it took a while for him to extend. You come back here, kind of thing, right? But she knows now. I walk outside, and the first thing that I do is I try to come up with the most god awful equation in my head, like 4,273,692 times 64.765, something I could never, ever do mathematically.
That's above my pay grade.
What happens in the brain is all of that math and stuff like that is over in the analytical side. The analytical side isn't the place that really matters. It's that intuitive side, the reasoning side, the caring side. And what happens is if all the energy is over here and I drain it over here, what happens is it brings that whole temperature down. And literally in the space of less than a minute in some cases, I'm clear-headed enough to say, the most important person in the world to me is in the other room. And what we're talking about right now, a week from now, I won't even remember it.
Oh, yeah.
And the next step I'll do is I'll go in and I'll say, please forgive me for the way I reacted.
Yeah.
People say, why are you asking forgiveness if maybe you were right? It's like, it's not about being right.
Yeah.
And I can always react in a positive, loving way. If I wasn't reacting in that way, then or responding in that way, to ask forgiveness for the way I reacted.
Oh, yeah.
That doesn't make anybody right or wrong or indifferent. All it does is it says, I care.
And that is a good lesson that kids could learn too.
I was just going to say that. Yeah. Imagine if we were able to take what you just said and implement that and teach our youth how to communicate, how to step back, how to take responsibility for our part in the communication, our part. And you know what? I don't agree with you, but the way I responded is not correct. Right. And I apologize for my part in that. I shouldn't have said that. I shouldn't have done that. I reacted out of my emotions, and then there's forgiveness that's allowed to be there because there's a state of vulnerability. And imagine if we could teach our youth how to do that, how to be like, what, there's something being triggered right now. Let me just take a step back. Let me refocus. Let me, get my brain back into where a state that's not erratic, that's not responsive, that's not reactive, and get control of myself and my emotions, and let me come back in and be like, you know what, I'm sorry that I did this. I'm sorry, for my part in our communication. And then you grow and you come from a place of love and understanding and forgiveness. Imagine what we could do with that. What the world
forgiveness is powerful.
Do that. It's so powerful.
Yeah.
Forgiveness
is powerful.
So simple. It's not simple in the moment, but it's a simple act that if we can really instill that and to lead by example, then we can change a lot of lives. We can save a lot of marriages, which in turn save, the children, because they instill that in their children, and then those children instill that in their other friends, and it just the ripple effect goes out. But it all starts with us.
Yes, it certainly does. And, when you talk about forgiving someone, forgiveness is based in an agape type of love. And what I mean by that is that when you forgive someone, you're not going to forget it unless you get Alzheimer's or something, but you never, as in never, ever, ever throw it back in their face, because that proves to them that, A, you did not forgive them, and they're going to know deep down inside, you really don't love them as much as you should from the heart. And that came very evident to me when I went through my experience there. And I thought about some of the things I've done in my life. I never did anything that really hurt anybody. I probably hurt myself more than anybody else, skint my ignorance a few times. But my point being was that all that was forgiven was nowhere on that realm. It just doesn't exist there, because true love, forgiveness, means it doesn't exist anymore. And that really, it really made an impression on me.
It is.
Oh, gosh,
one of the most empowering things that you can do is to choose to forgive.
Though? Yeah.
And when we're talking about forgiveness, what people don't understand is forgiveness doesn't mean that you accept that what the other person did is okay, because you can't take that back. Forgiveness is about you taking control of that and not allowing that, not, how do I say this? It's not about the other person. It's about you. It's about your own healing journey. Yeah. It's about saying that there is nothing that I could have done and nothing that I can do to change that this happened. You know, for me, I can't go back and I could spend the rest of my life living in hatred for the people that
Oh,
have abused me throughout my
oh
life, but
yeah.
I've chosen
Oh
to
yeah.
forgive them. And in that forgiveness, it's so powerful because it doesn't mean that what they did is right, or that I'm
Mhm.
saying that they
No.
were, you know, that they that it doesn't hurt anymore. You
Mhm.
know, that those things don't hurt, but I'm not going to allow that to keep me from my purpose and my
Mhm.
passion in my life. That I'm
Mhm.
not going to hold that resentment and that hurt within me, because all of that energy, all it does is when we shove it down and we choose not to forgive, it comes out in
Mhm.
other ways. It comes out in our health.
Mhm.
It
Yeah.
comes out in our other relationships. It all
Mhm.
comes out in other ways that we wouldn't even expect when we respond in those times of communication that end up being
Mm.
a trigger response because we haven't chosen to
Oh,
forgive.
yeah.
That comes in our marriages and our relationships with our children. It comes out in
Yeah.
other ways. So we choose to forgive so that we can move on and
Now
become the greatest
I
version
can't
of
control.
ourselves.
I can't
Mhm.
control how
Yeah.
somebody else has acted or what
Yeah.
they've done. What I
Mhm.
can control is how I choose to react and
Yes.
what I choose to hold on to. In
Yeah.
another organization that I was involved with, one of the things that we would say is I love you and I accept you even though I don't understand you. Now, when somebody cuts you off in
I'm
traffic, what
sorry.
you want to say is I love you and I accept you. But
And
the
then it
thing
says
is, the thing is,
4,699 trillion times.
the thing is, the power of it, of the concept, and it's not the magic of the words,
Yeah.
those particular words, but the concept. And we're talking about forgiveness, which is just a powerful, powerful concept. The, the power of it is I'm releasing it. I'm not
Mhm.
holding it. The person who whacks and cuts me off in traffic and is gunning it down the road
Mhm.
and just about runs me off. You know what? They're not going to even remember it an hour
Mm-mm.
from now.
Yeah.
And I'll be
Yeah.
seething about it all day long. So the power in it is I'm
Yeah.
releasing that from me. I'm
Yes.
not I'm not accepting what they're doing. It's
Yeah.
not right. And they can kill
Because,
somebody. And God hope,
yeah.
I hope that they don't.
Yeah.
But what I can choose to do is not is to evict that, not to give them the
Yeah.
space in my brain to evict them from that part of my brain. And the only way to
Mhm.
do that is through forgiveness.
Yeah, exactly. And because as they go on down through the pathway of life, they're going to have the same problem, but you will not
Mhm.
unless you carry it, and unless you let it grind at you. And I just want to mention very quickly, Monique and I, we've met through the being invited to share our stories in this book here, Health. Let's see, I never can remember the name of this thing. Your
The health
health
turnaround
turnaround
story.
story. Yeah. Don't tell Austin I said that. He might rip my chapter out, but that's how we met. And when I read her story here, what she shared earlier, the thing that really impressed me about Monique is the fact that just look at her. I mean, just look at her eyes. You see a lady, you see a beautiful young lady with a beautiful smile, but the light in her eyes. That's a true reflection of her soul, the peace, the love that she has. I mean, I just got to tip my hat to you because growing up the way I did on a farm, the only trouble I got into was doing something stupid and getting my butt beat, and that was it. And I knew it was coming after I did it. But I mean, I just admire you for what you've done and what you want to do. And I'd like to just ask one consideration. Let me put it like that. Whenever you start with your nonprofit, I would be honored if you'd let me have the opportunity to televise that and put
Absolutely.
this on the TV. And we'll we'll draft Emerson here and bring him along with us. Because that's just because we love you, Emerson. Bottom of my heart, brother.
I
Well, I'll
appreciate
just say tacos and enchiladas to you and yours
you
on that
know
deal. Yeah.
and I want to encourage, because I never know who's going to see this and who's going to be
Right.
inspired by
Right.
this.
Mhm.
And I just want to encourage those adults, not only just teenagers or whatever, that it's not an easy road to healing. It's not an easy
Mm-mm.
road to forgiveness. It's a lot of work, and you have to go deep down into those dark places that you'd really like to just forget about. But if you don't do that, If you don't learn to heal yourself within, it doesn't matter. And that's what my whole chapter is about, is if we don't, I can eat correctly, I can exercise, I can do all of these things and, on the outside, but if I don't work on the inside and I don't heal on the inside and go to those dark places that most of us don't want to go to, we can't heal. We can't truly, if we can't learn to love ourselves, we can't learn to love other people. If we don't heal those root core issues, we're just going to spew all of that. It's going to come out in our relationships, in every aspect of our lives. But I want people to understand that it's not an easy journey. This smile on my face is not, you guys see this, but you don't see what goes on behind closed doors. I suffer from PTSD. I have moments where I'm uncontrollably shaking and crying because of a trigger, because something that's been triggered. I've had to do deep work in my relationships. I've had 2 failed marriages. I got into abusive relationships, and I've had to learn to grow and to take responsibility for my actions and my insecurities and my fears and how they come out in my relationships with my children, with my husband. It's not an easy road, but it can be done. And it doesn't get so much better where everything just goes away. Things don't go away. Those traumas are still there. You know what I mean? It just gets easier. And the more that you share your journey, the more you can inspire others. And I think that if I can go through the things that I've been through and still find a reason to put a smile on my face, I know that anybody else can do it. And that's the thing. It's the reason why I stepped out of my comfort zone and I wrote my chapter. It's the reason why I share my story, because I know that there's somebody out there that needs to see that there's somebody like them that ended up having an extraordinary opportunity in their life where the gates just opened up, to have faith that there is a chance for them in this world, that there are people that care, but I need people to know that it's not an easy journey. Going inward and self-reflection and healing those deep wounds within ourselves is not an easy journey, but it's so worth it. And work it. And when we get through it, then we reach our hands out and say, I'm here. Let me show you the way. It's not going to be easy, but I can promise you that I can hold your hand along the way, and I can be here for a shoulder to cry on in those moments when you feel like you can't go on anymore, because I've been there. I've been suicidal. I've been there where I believed nobody else. I've been there where I've been beaten and broken and homeless and living in women's shelters and believed I had nothing to give this world, including my children. Like there's parts in the book where I talk about I didn't believe that I had any worth in myself and that I was only a burden to anybody who was a part of my life. And I have come out of that, but it hasn't been easy. It hasn't been easy. The smile on my face that you see now is covered by a lot of like hurt and pain. But if I can do it, anybody can do it. And I want to inspire those people who are in those dark places that anything is possible. Just don't give up. Just don't give up.
I know, Emerson, you wanted to say something. We're getting a little close on time. We have to shut down at 56 minutes. Otherwise, you'll see a big hook.
Well, the only thing that I was going to say, as you were saying, that this was triggering this for me, and that is that, you've had more than one abusive relationship, as you said. Many of the viewers know people that have had multiple serial relationships that just were the wrong people, and you want to hold a mirror up to them and say, guess what? There's stuff here that's it's not your fault, but to not recognize it means that it just becomes a continuing process. And the other part is, we were talking about forgiveness earlier. Vulnerability is a part of that too. When we say, I'll never be hurt again, I'll never have this, I'll never, we shut ourselves off from the world. And when we do that, we shut ourselves off from the joy that we can bring to others and that others are looking to bring to us. Because we're not doing that inner work. And so it's that willingness. It's that willingness to be real and to be out there and to be ourselves and not to carry all the burden of the pain and all the burden of the abuse, or for some of drugs or other things that have weighed them down and held them back, and being willing to be open.
Yeah.
Because the universe has some great things for people. When you, and
We
I'm
ain't seen
saying that
nothing
in
yet.
a generic way, but when you are real and people see you, they are drawn. The people you're looking for most, and the love and the respect, the relationships you want most, are looking for you.
Yeah, because I went through that a lot in the 70s after I came back from Nam. I was pretty well burned out, and I chose alcohol as my escape, and I would get off to myself. And my defense was that I was always joking around and things like that. I kept people at a distance because I didn't want to talk to anybody. And then finally, I, through a series of hearing other Vietnam veterans talk, and they talked about it doesn't hurt anymore. It wasn't an act of hatred. It was an act of survival and all of that. I came to grips with it. I quit drinking January the 1st, 1981. I never will forget my mother. She called me one time. She says, well, how did you quit drinking? I said, well, I quit buying. You quit buying, they quit serving. That's just the way that world turns. But you got to have that courage to say, this is wrong. I'm not going to live like this anymore. I'm not going to cheat myself out of the true riches of life, because look at all the love that I missed out on in the 70s there. And ladies and gentlemen, our time is gone. We hope you've enjoyed the show. We've really been blessed to have Emerson and especially Monique with us today. And always remember to love yourself first. You are worthy. You deserve it. And if you love yourself, then you can love others, because you can't give somebody something you don't own. So own that love, and remember to forgive yourself too. That's extremely important. Yeah.
Huge.
And because we're very easy to forgive others, but forgive ourselves, work on that. I know I've had to and still do to some degree, but just bless you. Thank you so much for tuning in. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you guys again. Appreciate you, Emerson. Thank you, Monique.